Hi, and welcome on to Transfer Daily, the show that takes a look at players that have been linked with a move to Arsenal. Now, the rumour that's flying around today, it's all over the place, really heavy, this one, is that the Jackson Martinez deal may be back on. And a lot of that comes off of the back of the fact that Jackson Martinez, who we were being told about a week ago, that he was all due to sign for AC Milan. Well, that deal's fallen through. He doesn't look like he's going to be signing for AC Milan. Hence, all the newspaper outlets today going with the fact that Arsenal could still get back in there and sign Jackson Martinez. And, of course, a lot of Arsenal fans would like to see a striker coming in. Porto, of course, are saying that, listen, we're not going to let him go unless we get that release clause, which is said to be £25 million. They're saying, listen, unless we get that, sorry, you can't get hold of him. But the possibility of signing Jackson Martinez is back on. Now, one thing that a lot of the outlets have failed to sort of include is the fact that there is another club that are very, very interested in him, and that is Atletico Madrid. And if I'm being honest, I think I could probably see him more ending up at Atletico than at Arsenal. I think they're getting rid of Mandzukic, possibility even that Griezmann could go. So they're looking to replace. And I do think that Arsenal are looking at that age factor. You saw that interview that we did the other day with John Cross from the Mirror, and he said that Arsenal really like Jackson Martinez, but their one worry about him is the age. I think he's 28 at the moment, actually turns 29 this year. That is knocking on a bit for a player, for a striker. That means you're only going to get like, 1-2 years out of him before all of that 25 million that you paid for him is sort of down the drain, So that is the sticking point. Arsenal, you know what they're like over the years. We haven't really liked to sign older players. We've liked to sign players that are, sort of around about 25 or even younger, so that if it doesn't work out, or so that, there is always a resale. And there wouldn't be much of a resale on Jackson Martinez. He's got the quality. He's a striker who scores goals. Of course, he's over there in the Copa America at the moment playing, but we have to wait and see with this one. But it is back on. If Arsenal want it, they can get back in there because AC Milan have withdrawn and are not prepared to pay the amount of money. So he doesn't look like he's going to be going to AC Milan. One from left field today is the one about Petr Schlupp. Schlupp, who plays for Leicester City. Remember seeing him play against us a couple of times this season. Really, really lightning quick, really decent player. I say decent. Didn't strike me as an Arsenal player when I was watching him, but he's getting linked. He's been linked for a few days, and the links are still there. They say that Arsenal have been taking a look at him. Of course, he's a winger. And again, I mean, left winger, all right, fair enough. That is a position sometimes where we lack. But do we really need a left winger? And Petr Schlupp, is that the sort of player of quality that Arsenal are looking to bring in? And once again, even though, as I said, there's been a lot of links with him, I really think that if he does move at all, he's going to end up at Aston Villa. They're the ones who are putting in the serious bids for him at the moment, around about £5 million. But, as I said, a lot of the outlets going today with Schlupp once again being linked with a move to Arsenal. I don't think we need wingers. We've got enough wingers. We got Alexis Sanchez can play on the left. Welbeck can play on the left. And then on the right-hand side, we've got loads of wingers. So I'd really be disappointed if we did sign him. I'd wonder how much game time he'd get if we signed him. So I really can't see that one happening, but the links have been out there. Another one that we've been linked with for a long time, but looks like it's definitely not going to be happening now, is Jeffrey Kondogbia. Kondogbia, we've been told, is all set to sign for Inter Milan. A deal believed to be around about £25 million. That's set to happen. Kondogbia, of course, I wouldn't have minded the Kondogbia. I really like him as a player. I think he's that sort of commanding presence in midfield that could do an excellent job for Arsenal. However, there are a lot of French experts who still say he's very raw, and for that sort of price, £25 million, there are a lot of experts that are looking on it and saying, listen, that price is just way too high. He's not at that level yet. he's up and coming, he's good, but he's not at that level yet. And is he better or much better than Francis Coquelin? Would you put him in there immediately in front of Coquelin? That again is the other interesting fact on this one. But it looks like Kondogbia is going to be on his way to Inter Milan. However, Arsenal apparently looking at another defensive midfielder. We're linked to every defensive midfielder going at the moment, and the defensive midfielder we're talking about in this case is Giancarlo Imbula. Imbula, he plays for Marseille, defensive midfielder, 22 years of age, a French and under-21 player. Arsenal, we're being told, are considering him. He'd be a lot cheaper, a cheaper option. Again, I've seen this guy play. He's decent. He's a decent player. The price we're being told would be about 18.5 million euros, which that's a lot cheaper than going for, say, a Kondogbia. But is there a reason for that? When I've seen him play, he's looked a decent player. Marseille want to hang on to him. They don't want to let him go. But apparently Arsenal are looking at him. They are interested in him. And in their, hope to try and strengthen up that area. And would he be a better sort of fit coming in that maybe if he didn't get straight into the first team, he'd accept that, and he'd accept battling it out with Coquelin for that position. Because I think, listen, I definitely think we need another defensive midfielder. It could be that Arsene Wenger ends up just sticking with Coquelin and saying, right, well, we've got Arteta, we've got Flamini as well, backups in those areas. But I just think that those two guys, whilst they'll do a job for Arsenal, they won't, they'll try their best. They'll try not to let Arsenal down. I just think those quicker, dynamic players in those positions, younger, stronger, are invaluable. And, Imbala might not be a bad player to move in for. Of course, the Petr Cech rumours get stronger and stronger and stronger as every next day goes on. We're being told today that personal terms have been agreed between Petr Cech and Arsenal, and that the only sticking points now are agreeing the fee with Chelsea, and that's going to be the last hurdle to get over. Obviously, Arsenal are going to try and probably go for around about as low as they can, really, but they're probably going to try and go for around about the 10 million mark. We're told Chelsea want up to about 14 million. Listen, these sort of things, when personal terms have been agreed between the player and the club he wants to go to, that kind of does put the club in a strong position, because obviously they know the player really wants to come. So they can be kind of stingy with trying to, agree that transfer fee. And we know Arsenal, we're good at doing stingy sometimes. So there could be a little bit of a battle over what that transfer fee is going to be. For me, just get this deal done now. It's been dragging on for a while. Let's get this deal done. Let's get Petr Cech in. Decent pre-season. Let him go out on the tours and everything like that and get used to his teammates. And let's get this deal done, because to me, it seems pretty obvious that this is definitely going to be a deal that's going to have it happen. We've not heard Petr Cech being linked with moves with any other teams, despite other teams needing goalkeepers. He definitely wants to stay in London. So let's get this deal done. Petr Cech, as I keep saying, week after week, day after day, would be a massive addition to Arsenal's football team. Massive. Let's get into your comments. And Mad Skills 907, he said Arsenal have already pussied out of the Martinez deal by the looks of it. Well, he sent that in yesterday. No, he sent that an hour ago, actually. But listen, not necessarily. The deal can be back on if Arsenal want it to be. But I do understand the fact that the age factor. I do understand that, because 28, and apparently, I'm not sure of his birthday, but I'm being told that he's got a birthday this year. He'll be 29. That is kind of old for, I say 29 old. I wish I was 29 again. But that's kind of old for a player, bring them into your club, because you're just not going to get many more years out of him. I suppose you could point to Robin van Persie when he went to Manchester United. His age, around about the same age, went there help to win him a title. If Jackson Martinez came in and did that in his first year, the age wouldn't matter, would it? So, but then I suppose you could look at Van Persie now that they spent all this money on this guy, big wages, etc. They can't get him off their books, you know, and there's not going to be much of a resale value, even though he's a very good player, but he's 31 years of age, injury prone. So these are the things that has to be considered by the club before making such a massive investment on a player. And so we have to wait and see what Arsenal do about that one. But as I said, I think favourites for him, more Atletico than Arsenal. Oscar Guevero says, do you really think Schneiderlin would want to join Arsenal to be backup? Or do you think he'd rather go to Manchester United and have a place in the team? Let's be realistic. He's got a point there. He wouldn't necessarily be joining to be backup. He may start, but it'd be competition to get into that team. But I do take his point. Schneiderlin's going to be looking on it, as every French player is looking on it at the moment, that I want to get into that French national team at the end of the season. They're playing at home, that tournament, the Euros. I want to be playing in that. That's what they were looking at. Yeah, I want to play Champions League football, but I want to be playing in that game. And because of that, that guy there might have a point, and he might want to go to Manchester United if he thinks he might start there on a regular basis. Arsenal are playing. This is Alec Miller. He says Arsenal are playing Lyon in July. Could it be Arsenal scouting Lacazette? Of course, that's going to be at the Emirates Cup. Very, very interesting. I don't know. I just get the feeling it's all gone quiet on Lacazette. It looks like Lacazette might stay at Lyon for at least another year. Yet again, as I said, players wanting to try and burst into the first team of the French national team. He'll be starting every week at Lyon. They'll be playing in the Champions League. He'll be, you know, he'll be in the shop window for that French team. So he might want to stick it out for another year, try and get another good season under his belt. Then he'd move, obviously, for huge money. Although it can backfire that he could stay for another year, have a poor season, and nobody be interested again. This is how football goes sometimes. It's very difficult to pronounce his name. I think it's a Polish-sounding name. It goes by the name of Presflor. I hope I pronounced that right. Apologies if I haven't. He said, I think even though Ospina might be better than Szczesny, he says the Polish goalkeeper has Arsenal in the blood in his veins, which is important and as is rare at times. He says Szczesny should be the one who should stay. And again, you know, one keeper to me is definitely going to have to move on. It does look like it's going to be Ospina. As I said yesterday, I think he'd be very lucky, Szczesny, if he's the one that ends up staying, because he had a very poor season, let's face it. Grand Dude says, all the Vidal rumours have gone very quiet. Yes, the Vidal rumours have gone quiet. Also, Vidal wouldn't have done himself no favours with his indiscipline at the Copa America. I don't know if you guys know the story of him going out after a Chile game, crashing his Ferrari. He was drunk, getting drunk at the wheel. Very, very poor, particularly when you're in a tournament. And you know what Arsene Wenger's like. He would have looked at that and thought, oh, no, I don't want none of that over here. So, you know, that again may have knocked back that deal big time. But let's see what happens with that. Very long one, this one. I'm going to keep it short. It's JP Keita. He says, always disappointed by Arsene Wenger. Never does the right thing. Schneiderlin is not world class. He said we need Ivan Rakitic, Paul Pogba, Lacazette, or Marco Reus. We might also need Manuel Neuer. He's the second best goalkeeper in the world. I'll say he's the best. He said, and he says, he said the number one goalkeeper is obviously Courtois. I don't agree with you there. And he goes on to talk about Arsene Wenger and that. Listen, JP, I think you've been playing a bit too much FIFA, mate. Listen. Rakitic, Ivan Rakitic, why is he going to leave Barcelona? They've just won the treble. The treble. They only bought him last season. They just won the treble. Why would he want to leave Barcelona? And what sort of money would you have to pay to try and get him out of there, to force Barcelona's hand? That is a deal. There's no way that's going to happen. Paul Pogba, we're talking about 75, 80 million pounds. If we're being realistic, personally, I don't think he's worth that. Not yet. I think he's a brilliant player. But I think that's, you know, because there's such demand for him, the price for him is overpriced. But I'd love to see Pogba in the club. But realistically, the way Arsenal operate at the moment, that's not going to happen. Lacazette, as I've just explained, looks like he wants to stay at Lyon. And Marco Reus says he wants to stay at Dortmund. So you've got to be realistic. When you're talking about transfers, it's not just about, yeah, I want him. Oh, I want him. At the moment, there's a lot of players that Manchester City, who've got unlimited money, are saying, yeah, I want him. I want him. But you know what? If Jack Wilshere doesn't want to go, and if the club don't want to sell, how are you going to get him? You can want him, but you might not be able to get him. You know, Real Madrid want Aguero right now. They want him. That is the player that everybody knows they're desperate to sign so that they can compete with Barcelona. They want Aguero. Manchester City are not selling. It ain't happening. And that's... So you can't just pluck loads of names out of the air and say, yeah, well, I want him, I want him, I want him. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes it does, you know, like in the case like last year with Suarez, that, you know, all right, Barcelona lump massive amount of money on him to bring him over. But of course, the player wanted to play for Barcelona as well. But it doesn't always work like that. It's not just always the money. It's not just always, yeah, that mega target, I want him. You know, or you can end up going to pay ridiculous money for a player. I mean, I suppose you could go to Lyon and say, right, yeah, it's £60 million for Lacazette. Is Lacazette one season scoring a load of goals worth 60 million? The answer is no. So come on, let's get realistic with the transfers. But thanks very much for your comments anyway, and I hear your frustration. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll be back around about the same time. Also, don't forget to check out a video coming out today from Aussie Gooners, where they talk about Petr Cech, whether they think we need him or not, and also they discuss who they think should go. Some interesting points of view on that video. But thanks for watching. We'll be back around about the same time tomorrow.